A goal kick went up into the Miami night sky. And then it did something that footballs are not supposed to do. It stopped. It changed direction. And it dropped straight down out of the air like someone had cut its strings. 90 seconds later, the ball was in the back of the net. A World Cup quarterfinal had been turned on its head. And one of the most remarkable stories of this entire tournament was about to be killed off by something hanging 40 feet above the pitch. The team on the wrong end of it says the goal should never have counted. The technology says nothing happened at all. The referee says he saw nothing. And somewhere in between those three positions sits one of the strangest controversies in World Cup history. This is the story of Norway versus England. A wonder goal, a disallowed goal, a penalty given and then taken away. A superstar striker silenced, and a camera cable that may have just decided which nation gets to dream about lifting the World Cup. By the end of this video, you can decide for yourself whether England earned their place in the semifinals, or whether they got away with one of the great escapes. But first, you need to understand what both of these teams were carrying into that stadium in Miami on the night of July 11th, 2026. Start with Norway, because what Norway did at this World Cup was genuinely historic. This was their first World Cup appearance this century. An entire generation of Norwegian fans had grown up never seeing their country on this stage, and when they finally arrived, they lit the tournament on fire. 5 games played before this quarterfinal, goals scored in every single one of them. 12 scored, 9 conceded, chaos merchants, entertainers, a team that traded punches with everybody and kept winning anyway. And they were led by the most feared striker on the planet. Erling Haaland came into this match having scored in all 4 of his World Cup appearances. Zoom out further, and the numbers become almost absurd. He had scored in 14 consecutive competitive matches for Norway, racking up 27 goals in that stretch. The last player to score in each of his first 5 games at a World Cup was James Rodriguez in 2014. The last European to do it was Gerd Müller in 1970. That was the company Haaland was chasing in Miami. This was also Norway's first quarterfinal at any major tournament in their entire history. Not just the World Cup, any major tournament, ever. And the history books offered them a warning. Norway had never beaten European opposition at a World Cup. 2 draws, 4 defeats. Both of their previous knockout matches against European sides ended in losses to Italy, one back in 1938 and one in 1998. To reach a semi-final, they would have to do something no Norwegian team had ever done. Now, flip to the other side. England. And a number that hangs over everything this team does. 60. 60 years since 1966. 60 years since the only major trophy in the history of the men's national team. An entire population born, raised, grown old, without ever seeing England win anything. And the recent history makes it worse, not better. A European Championship final lost on penalties to Italy in 2021. Another European Championship final lost to Spain in 2024. Twice they touched the door. Twice it slammed in their faces. Thomas Tuchel's side arrived in Miami off the back of a heart attack of a match in the previous round. A 3-2 win over Mexico at the Azteca that featured a red card for Jarell Quansah and 2 goals from Jude Bellingham. England had survived rather than dominated, and now they faced the tournament's great overachievers at a stage where they had historically been dreadful. This was England's 11th World Cup quarterfinal, more than any nation except Brazil and Germany, yet they had progressed from just 3 of the previous 10, conceding 2 or more goals in 7 of those ties. The quarterfinal is where English dreams traditionally go to die. So that was the collision. A nation that had waited 60 years against a nation that had waited its entire modern history. And it played out in brutal conditions. Kickoff came with a heat index topping 100 degrees Fahrenheit. The kind of heat that doesn't just tire players out, it changes matches. Remember that, because it becomes very important later. Tuchel made 2 changes from the Mexico match. John Stones came into the back line for the suspended Quansah, who was serving his ban for that red card. And Noni Madueke replaced his Arsenal teammate Bukayo Saka on the right wing. England lined up in a 4-2-3-1, Jordan Pickford in goal. Ezri Konsa, Stones, Mark Guehi, and Nico O'Reilly across the back. Elliot Anderson and Declan Rice as the double pivot. Madueke, Bellingham, and Anthony Gordon behind the captain, Harry Kane, who came into the game with 6 goals at this tournament already. Only twice before had an England player scored 6 at a major tournament. Gary Lineker at the 1986 World Cup, and Kane himself in 2018. Ståle Solbakken sent Norway out in a 4-3-3. Orjan Nyland in goal behind a back four of Julian Ryerson, Torbjorn Hegem, Christopher Ayer, and David Muller-Wolf. Patrick Berg and Sander Berge anchoring the midfield. And up front, the firepower that had terrorized this tournament. Andreas Schjelderup and Alexander Sørloth, flanking Haaland. And England's game plan was an open secret. Tuchel had built it with intelligence gathered from the men who know Haaland best, his Manchester City teammates. Players who train against him every day, who had faced him at club level, all fed into one simple, ruthless idea. Do not let Haaland touch the ball. Don't try to outmuscle him. Don't try to win duels against him. Just starve him. Cut the supply lines at the source and make somebody else beat you. For long stretches, it worked. But football has a way of punishing you through the man you weren't watching. England actually started the brighter of the two sides, controlling possession and probing without truly threatening. And then, in the 36th minute, Norway landed the first punch. And what a punch it was. Andreas Schjelderup picked the ball up on the left, working an angle that most players would consider impossible. The kind of angle where the smart play is a cross or a cutback. Schjelderup didn't want the smart play. He wanted the spectacular one. He unleashed a strike from that ridiculous position that flew past Pickford, kissed the inside of the post, and buried itself in the net. Pickford had no chance. Nobody had a chance. It was one of the goals of the tournament, and it put Norway 1 goal away from the greatest result in their history. And here is where the match could have been killed off entirely. Because before halftime, Norway carved England open on the counter. A 2-on-1 break. Sørloth carrying the ball with Haaland absolutely free alongside him, screaming for the pass. One square ball and the most lethal finisher in world football taps Norway into a 2-goal lead. The pass never came. Sørloth kept it, the chance evaporated, and Haaland's arms went up in disbelief. In a match decided by the finest of margins, that moment will haunt Norway for years because of what happened next. First half stoppage time. Norway leading 1-0 and defending their advantage comfortably. Nyland steps up to take a routine goal kick. He launches it long, aiming for the area occupied by England left-back Nico O'Reilly. The ball climbs into the Miami sky, and then it falls, not on the trajectory it left his boot with. It comes down sharply, almost vertically, dropping out of the air as if it had struck something up there, because it almost certainly had. Suspended above the pitch at Miami Stadium was the spidercam, a broadcast camera hanging from 4 tension wires attached to the corners of the ground, gliding around above the players to give television viewers those beautiful overhead angles. The replays showed Nyland's goal kick passing right where the cable hung, and the ball's behavior told its own story. Footballs do not stop mid-flight and fall straight down on their own. The ball dropped perfectly into the stride of Elliot Anderson. Anderson drove forward down England's left. He found Anthony Gordon. Gordon slipped a right-footed ball inside to Jude Bellingham. And Bellingham did what Bellingham does. He took the pass brilliantly, beat Torbjorn Hegem, worked his space inside the box, and fired low into the bottom corner, from a Norway goal kick to an England goal in a matter of seconds. 1-1 at the break. The Norway bench erupted. Solbakken and his staff surrounded the 4th official in fury, protesting to French referee Clement Turpin. Several Norway players swarmed the referee on the pitch. A member of the coaching staff was seen pointing up at the spidercam as a raging Solbakken left the field at halftime, seeking out Turpin to make his case in person. And here is why they were so angry. According to the laws of the game, if the ball strikes an object over the field of play, that counts as outside interference. The referee is supposed to stop the game and restart with a dropped ball. And according to rules analyst and former referee Mark Clattenburg, that kind of incident is reviewable by VAR if it leads directly to a goal. Which this did. The mechanisms existed to fix it. Neither was used. Why not? This is where it gets strange. FIFA sources claim that the VAR team did not believe the ball actually struck the spidercam. The match balls at this tournament carry a sensor chip so sensitive that it can detect the faintest touch. That chip registered no contact. The snickometer-style technology, the same concept cricket uses to detect the tiniest edges, showed nothing. According to the machines, the ball hit nothing at all. It just decided, on its own, to fall out of the sky. Solbakken was having none of it. Speaking after the match, he said the ball fell straight down from the sky and changed direction. When told the chip registered no movement, he asked what he could possibly say against that, but insisted everybody at the stadium believed it hit the wire, including his goalkeeper and the player waiting to receive the pass. He called it a strange thing, and in a line that will follow this match forever, he wondered aloud whether the spidercam would be credited with the assist. Even Turpin, by Solbakken's account, told him at halftime that he simply hadn't seen anything. Thomas Tuchel, to his credit, didn't pretend the question was ridiculous. He pointed to the chip in the ball and noted that the technology can detect if a hair touches it, so the officials should be able to say definitively whether contact happened. And Tuchel knew exactly what he was referencing, because this exact technology had already produced heartbreak at this tournament. In the round of 32, Croatia thought they had equalized against Portugal deep into stoppage time through Josko Gvardiol. The celebrations were cut short when the chip detected that Igor Matanovic had made the slightest of touches while in an offside position during the build-up. The machine giveth and the machine taketh away. Against Croatia, the chip detected a touch nobody could see. Against Norway, it detected nothing when everybody could see something. Both times, the technology's verdict stood. Both times, a team went home wondering. So Norway went into the second half level when they believed they should have been leading. And within 10 minutes, the football gods twisted the knife again. 55th minute. Norway win a corner. The delivery comes in and Torbjorn Hegem rises to head it home. Miami Stadium's Norwegian section explodes. 2-1 Norway, the dream alive again. Except it wasn't. Because VAR was already looking at something that happened before the corner was even taken. Erling Haaland, jostling for position, had shoved Elliot Anderson in the chest moments before the kick. And this is where a brand new rule entered World Cup folklore. Under fresh IFAB regulations introduced for this tournament, a foul committed just before a corner is taken can now be punished. Turpin went to the monitor, reviewed the push, chalked off the goal, and ordered the corner retaken. Norway's second goal of the night, wiped out. Clattenburg backed the decision, saying Haaland clearly pushed Anderson and that under the new regulations, a foul in that moment must be penalized. Norway saw it differently. Sander Berge summed up their frustration afterward, saying, "It is an advantage to be as big and physically strong as Haaland, but you get punished if you hold a player." The implication was clear. Haaland gets grabbed, wrestled, and leaned on in every penalty box he enters, and rarely gets those calls. The one-time contact goes the other way. The full weight of a new rule comes crashing down on him. 2 goals, 2 interventions, one team on the wrong side of both. You could feel the sense of injustice radiating off the Norway bench, but to their enormous credit, they didn't fold. If anything, they got better. Around the 78th minute, Norway were the more dangerous side, going close on at least 2 occasions and forcing England deeper and deeper. Solbakken rolled the dice, sending on Antonio Nusa and Oscar Bob for Schelderup and Sørloth, adding fresh legs and fresh chaos. Tuchel had already made his own big calls. At halftime, he sent on Saka and Eberechi Eze for Madueke and Declan Rice. Think about that for a moment. Taking off Declan Rice, one of the best holding midfielders in world football, at halftime of a World Cup quarterfinal. It was a statement that England intended to win this match with the ball, not without it. Saka immediately threatened down the right, whipping one cross just past the far post and later beating his man to deliver a low ball that Norway scrambled clear. 90 minutes couldn't separate them. 7 minutes of stoppage time came and went. 1-1. Extra time in the Miami furnace, with a heat index still north of 100 degrees and a place in the semifinals hanging on whichever team had one more moment left in its legs. England needed less than 3 minutes to find it. Morgan Rogers, on as a late substitute, let fly from long range. It was a testing strike, but the kind of goalkeeper at this level deals with cleanly 99 times out of 100. This was the 100th. Nyland couldn't gather it. The ball squirmed loose, and lurking exactly where the world's most dangerous opportunist always lurks was Jude Bellingham, reacting quickest, smashing the rebound into the net in the 93rd minute. 2-1 England. Bellingham's second of the night, his fourth goal in 2 matches, and the traveling England fans lost their minds. Cruel doesn't begin to cover it from a Norwegian perspective. They had produced the best goal of the game. They had a second goal taken off the board. They believed England's first should never have stood. And now the killer blow came not from brilliance, but from their own goalkeeper's only real mistake of the night. And the controversy still wasn't finished. Minutes after the goal, Jed Spence made a driving run into the Norway penalty area, where he appeared to be caught from behind by Oscar Bob. Turpin pointed straight to the spot. A penalty, a chance for England to bury the game. But VAR called Turpin over one more time, and after reviewing the footage, the referee decided there was no foul worthy of a penalty and overturned his own decision. For the third time in one match, a major decision had been ripped up and rewritten by the video officials. This time, at least, the reversal went Norway's way. It kept them alive. It kept the game on a knife edge. And what a final act it was. Mark Guehi threw his body in the way of a Nusa shot with a block that was worth as much as any goal. Patrick Berg fired over on either side of the extra time interval. Norway threw everything forward, and Bob spurned a promising opening that could have changed everything. Then, in the 106th minute, came the moment that told you the Norwegian dream was dying. Erling Haaland walked off the pitch, replaced by Jorgen Strand Larsen, the most feared striker in the world, removed from a World Cup quarterfinal with the game still in the balance. Solbakken explained afterward that it wasn't a tough decision, because Haaland was finished, and admitted he maybe should have made the change 10 minutes earlier. The striker had taken a dead leg in the second half, and combined with the crushing fatigue of the Miami heat, he simply had nothing left. Haaland himself acknowledged that his energy was completely gone. And the numbers back up how completely England's plan had strangled him. 2 shot attempts all night, 1 on target. After that first half, he was barely in the game. The man who had scored in 14 straight internationals, who had terrorized every defense at this World Cup, was reduced to a spectator by a backline that refused to let the ball reach him. When your entire tactical identity is built around one unstoppable force, and the opponent finds a way to unplug him, you need the others to win it. On this night, they came agonizingly close. But close doesn't get you to a semi-final. England should have put the game to bed. In the 110th minute, Saka reacted first to a loose ball in the box and arrowed a shot toward the bottom corner, only for Nyland to produce a stunning save. Moments later, the goalkeeper denied Spence too, a superb double stop that atoned for the earlier spill and kept Norway breathing. Tuchel then took off Bellingham, the man with both England goals, and sent on the towering defender Dan Burn to see out the finish. Christopher Ajer went into the book as Norway pressed with increasing desperation, and one final surge in the dying seconds came to nothing. The whistle blew. Norway 1, England 2 after extra time. At the final whistle, 2 former Borussia Dortmund teammates found each other on the pitch, Haaland and Bellingham shared an embrace, one heading home, one heading to a semi-final. Haaland stayed out there for several minutes afterward, saluting the Norwegian supporters who had followed this team through the greatest World Cup run in their history before making the long, slow walk to the locker room one final time. So let's step back and analyze what actually happened in this match. Because strip away the noise, and this was a genuinely fascinating tactical battle that turned on three things. The first was England's suffocation of Haaland. This was Tuchel's masterstroke, built on intelligence from Haaland's own club teammates. You don't beat Haaland by defending him. You beat him by defending the pass before the pass. Konsa, Stones, and Guehi held their line with discipline. Anderson screened the channels he attacks, and the supply simply never arrived. Norway generated real danger in that match, but look at where it came from. A moment of individual brilliance from Schjelderup, a set piece. Transitions through the wide areas. Almost none of it flowed through their superstar. When you force Norway to beat you without Haaland, you have already won half the battle. The second was the substitution game. Tuchel used his bench like a weapon. Saka and Eze at halftime changed the geometry of England's attack. Rodgers, on in the 89th minute, created the winning goal within 4 minutes of extra time starting. Spence won the penalty that was overturned and forced Nyland into a brilliant save. Solbaken's changes, by contrast, were largely forced on him. Ryerson injured. Hegem injured. Haaland empty. In extra time at a Summer World Cup in Florida, the bench battle is often the whole battle, and it was a mismatch. The underlying numbers across those 30 minutes were nearly even. The difference was one loose rebound and the sharpest poacher on the pitch. The third, obviously, is the officiating. And here, every viewer has to make an honest judgment. Take each decision on its own. The Hegem disallowed goal is, by the letter of the new law, correct. Haaland pushed Anderson. The regulation says punish it. You can argue the rule is harsh. You cannot really argue it was misapplied, and a former elite referee publicly endorsed it. The Spence penalty reversal also looks defensible. Soft contact, initially punished, downgraded on review. That call actually rescued Norway. But the spidercam, that one will not go away, because the evidence of your own eyes and the evidence of the technology point in opposite directions. Everyone watching that goal kick saw a ball behave in a way that footballs do not behave. The goalkeeper who struck it believed it hit the wire. The Norway bench believed it. Neutral analysts believed it. Against all of that stands a sensor chip that registered nothing, from the same system that detected an invisible fingertip touch to break Croatian hearts 2 rounds earlier. Either the technology failed at the worst possible moment, or every eyeball in Miami was wrong. Neither answer is comfortable. And the deepest irony is that the tournament's obsession with perfect, machine-verified truth produced a moment where nobody can agree on what the truth even was. Would Norway have won without that goal? Nobody can say. They still had to defend a 1-goal lead for 45 more minutes against an England side loading up with attacking substitutes. Sørloth's refusal to square the ball to Haaland was just as costly as any refereeing decision, and that one was entirely self-inflicted. Great teams close the door when history cracks it open. Norway left it ajar, and Bellingham kicked it in. And that brings us to the man himself. Jude Bellingham has now scored twice against Mexico and twice against Norway, back-to-back braces in the knockout rounds of a World Cup. His 2 goals at the Azteca had already made him the first midfielder in England's history to score 4 or more times in a single World Cup campaign. And the total now stands at 6. Striker numbers, produced from midfield. Both goals in Miami were pure predator finishes. Arriving late, reacting first, punishing the half mistake. His old Dortmund teammate Haaland spent the night starved and shackled. Bellingham spent it feasting on scraps and turned them into a semi-final. For Norway, the ending was brutal, but the journey changed everything. A first World Cup this century. A first major tournament quarterfinal in the nation's history. Goals in every single match they played. A team that went toe-to-toe with one of the tournament favorites for 120 minutes and was arguably one camera cable away from leading at halftime. Solbakken said afterward that his side could stand with the best in the world, and after this tournament, nobody is laughing at that claim. The core of this squad is young. They will be back, and when they return, they will carry the memory of Miami with them, the way all great footballing nations carry their scars. For England, the reward is enormous, and the pressure is now suffocating. A fourth World Cup semi-final in their history, and their first since 2018. Waiting for them in Atlanta on Wednesday are Argentina, the defending champions, who ground out a 112th-minute winner against Switzerland in their own quarterfinal. Lionel Messi and the holders, standing between England and a first World Cup final since 1966. 60 years of hurt, 60 years of penalty heartbreaks and quarterfinal exits, and golden generations that turned to rust, and now this team stands 2 wins from ending all of it. They have survived the Azteca. They have survived Miami. They have survived a match where the sky itself seemed to pick a side. Whether that makes them a team of destiny or a team living on borrowed time is a question Argentina will answer soon enough. Like and subscribe for more hard-hitting stories of the beautiful game. Until next time.